Hello, it's Duncan. Today, in another break from our usual programming, we're going to make our anagram rendering more configurable with Kotlin data classes and extension functions. At the moment, everything is in this one file, bumper tests, and it might help to move production code out into production even if we run everything from the test really. So let's take these two and move them into production. So we can say we want those to live in com, one-eyed men, bumper, in something called bumper, and we'll put those into the main. See if that works. Good. And that will let us look at both of them at the same time. So I can open this. I'm going to put these side by side. Okay, let's have a look at the names of our things. Render anagram, that seems like a good name. But get body string, this isn't really get body string. This is body string to generate GIF of. I'm giving it a nice long name because this is sort of code we might come back to in several years and try to understand. So we're writing the text for the body string to generate the GIF of an anagram, and then we're saying open. This maybe we want a better name for. I think we might pull this thing out into another function. And this might be open browser on file. We run this to remind ourselves what it does. It runs up Firefox, and Firefox then uses the JavaScript that came from the original website to render a GIF animation. And at the moment, in order to use this, I'm having to right-click and say, save image as. And that's the thing we want to fix pretty quickly, but not today. Okay, returning to the code. This temp dir isn't really pulling its weight, so let's inline that. Now, what I'd like to be able to do is experiment with some of the parameters to this anagram generation. So the background color and the text color and the width and the height. So let's give ourselves some parameters for a couple of these. Let's start with width. And we'll pretend that we had a parameter called width. And IntelliJ will create that for us. Add it to this function. So it's now there, but we'd rather this was an int. So we can change that to int. And now we're not passing that in here. So let's pass in, say, I think that was 360, and just check that works. Okay, that's made it square, so we need to fix the height as well. Let's go and do that. So this, we can make the height. Again, we can add a parameter. Again, we really want an int. And add that into here as, say, 240. Okay. Now we have the problem that I really want to specify these parameters at the top here. But for every one I add, then I've got to add a parameter to this function in order to add it to this function. I can solve that problem by making a single data class of the bits that I want. So we can say, I'm going to data class, and we're going to call this image spec maybe, and that will have the bits that we're using. So let's put that in there. And they are going to be values. Now, if I ask this to take an image spec instead of the width and the height, then I could wrap this up here. And down here, I have to go to the image spec to get out the width and the height. Now that means that we can pull this out of here as a parameter, just in one go. And now we can make changes up at the top level and have them all passed simultaneously down to the bottom. Let's just check it works. Good. Why didn't I make the anagram part of the image spec? No good reason really, other than they feel like separate things. So when they feel separate, we're going to leave them as separate parameters. Okay, moving on. What else do we want to change? Well, we'd like to be able to change this font, so I can pretend that I have an image spec dot font name. Remember that. Ask IntelliJ to add a property like that. And now all I have to do is fill it in here. And if we change that to Arial, just to check the things are working, and run. Now you see that hasn't worked. We have an issue. What's that? Let's have a look at our page, see what we wrote. Looking down through here, we've got font Arial that's not in quotes. So let's go and fix that. This is a triple quoted string, so we can put in double quotes inside it and run again. There we go. Now the final thing I'd like to be able to configure is the colors. So we're going to remember these for a moment and put in image spec dot text color, and this one's going to be background color. Again, these don't exist, so we can add them. And we need to put them in here, and we hopefully copied them earlier, so we can go and grab them. Now we've got similar things. It would be a good idea to give these names and to put everything on its own line. Now, in order to check that works, we're going to change one of these to a different color. So let's go with red. Good. You can see, in fact, that our rendering even has a little bit of a shadow. Now, finally, these CSS colors are all very well, but I'd like to be able to use red and black. Now, Java has AWT color, so we could use that. And in order to make that the case, we need to make these into colors. We run that. We find nothing happens. Let's look at the source we generated. Oh, and here's our problem. Java AWT color renders its toString as this horrible thing here. What we need is a CSS version of that. Let's ask the internet. Here's an example. So this has CSS color of a color. Let's just take that and Kotlinify it. So we'll take all that code, copy, new Kotlin class of maybe coloring. We'll make it a file. And now if we paste the Java in, unfortunately, IntelliJ hasn't converted this, so let's undo that. Rename this to be Java. Paste into there and have an import, and that's failed quite badly. Now we convert this to Kotlin. Just proceed. We don't want to do anything else. And now we have some functions that we can go and use. Take them out of the object, reformat. Okay. Off to here, and we can use that function in here. So that will be CSS color on our image specs background color. CSS color on my image spec. Run that. That's better because it's saying generating GIF, and there we are. And now we can just take that code and Kotlinify it a bit more. So this would be better as a receiver. So we could say color.toCSS. This could be a template, doesn't need the bracket. This prefix 0 might look better as an extension function as well. And Kotlinifying this, if we put an else in here, then the IntelliJ will offer to lift the return. Now we can make this a when, remove the braces, and this is just error. And in fact, we can move that down into here. I don't think we'll ever see 0, 0. So I think we can just move this into here. Make that an expression body and test that it works. Wonderful. I think it would be nicer to pull these prefixes up. So if we take that, and cut them out of there, then we can put them into there. One last change over here to check that we are working. And there we are. So now we're in a position for me to play with the parameters for the intro to this video. And next time we'll find a way for me to not have to download the GIF from the web page. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, then I know you'll enjoy the book that I wrote with Nat Price called Java to Kotlin, a Refactoring Guidebook, details of which are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching.